Before the warm-up clock even starts, the arena has already chosen a side. Some people bought tickets for the game, others came for the last name. The surname arrives before he does printed on jerseys, stamped on headlines, whispered like a verdict in the tunnel. He takes a breath, and it's not air, he inhales its opinion. Tonight will be measured twice, by the scoreboard, and by a scale that weighs expectations in pounds. A rookie is supposed to learn and visibly make mistakes in quiet gyms, build confidence far from cameras. He never got that. The first miss is a scandal, the first make is because of dad, and every ordinary moment gets turned into a referendum. Draft night wasn't an entry point, it was a trial. The applause sounded like evidence, the boos like cross-examination, the verdict, he didn't earn it. That sentence follows him into layup lines, into team meetings, into sleep. There is a memory. That still changes the temperature of a room, a medical scare that took the noise and shocked it into silence. In that instant, future plans became numbers on a monitor. Potential shrank to something smaller and more sacred, another heartbeat. He came back to the court careful, almost reverent. Every breath negotiated, every sprint asked for permission. Trusting your body again isn't a highlight. It's a private conversation with fate repeated on public floors. He hears the chants, but he also hears the math. Rotations are politics, possessions are careers. A coach is deciding if your 6 minutes are safe or dangerous. Veterans are calculating, can they win with you on the floor? Cameras are searching for a story they already wrote. That's the job now, compete against 5 defenders and 1,000 narratives. The strangest part isn't the pressure, it's the choreography of perception. He ties his shoes too carefully, he must be scared. He ties them fast, he's trying to look like he belongs. He smiles performative. He doesn't arrogant. Every micro-expression is a headline. Every routine a Rorschach test for strangers with slow-motion buttons. The game no longer lasts 48 minutes. It can last a week, replayed, clipped, and judged in feeds that never turn off. There is talent, real talent. Timing, defensive feel, glimpses of a patient game that doesn't need to shout. But promise is a dangerous currency when the market trades in outrage. Development is supposed to be a staircase. His looks like a cliff. One slip and you're a meme. One steady step and people say the staircase was installed for you. Say his name once, Bronny James, and you can feel the room tilt. That's the reality. A young player trying to learn in an environment allergic to patience. He can't control the cameras. He can only control the habits that survive them. Breath, stance, first step, next play. The lights aren't going to dim. The noise isn't going to soften. The only way out is through and through. In this case, means walking past 1,000 judgments to find the part of the game that still belongs to him. They call it nepotism math. Add a famous father. Subtract patience. Multiply the noise. But basketball reality keeps its own ledger. Rotations are balance sheets disguised as lineups. Minutes are a currency coaches spend like rent money, careful, conservative, never on a whim. If you're a young guard on the fringe, your 6 minutes are a hedge against a loss that could cost a staff in summer. Cap tables, TV partners, and ticket narratives sit invisibly on the bench. The coach doesn't just see a player, he sees risk, headlines, and 1,000 little jobs that protect a one-possession win. That's why trust is built the boring way. Safe pairings, veteran glue, to handlers on the floor to protect possessions, a defender with quiet feet who won't blow a coverage. You earn oxygen by not setting fires. It's the paradox every rookie meets. A rotation is politics until you become inevitable. And becoming inevitable takes reps you only get by already being inevitable. That loop can choke progress before you've relearned where to stand. On a Spain pick and roll, or how to survive a switch with 6 seconds left. Then there's the algorithm. The game ends, but the trial restarts. A missed corner 3 grows wings, clipped into slow motion and presented as proof. A made corner 3 is filed under well. With that last name, sample sizes don't matter when outrage pays the bills. 10 possessions become a personality profile. 1 turnover becomes a diagnosis. The feed doesn't just watch you, it edits you into a thesis you never agreed to defend. And it pushes that thesis to people who wanted that conclusion yesterday. Without a quiet gym, growth gets strange. Normal rookies fail in private, bad reads in film, extra work with a player development coach. G League nights where the only audience is the bus driver. Here, the classroom is the main stage. Every learning rep is a headline. Try to tighten your handle and you're labeled hesitant. Play faster and you're reckless. The middle where most progress lives doesn't trend, so it disappears. Meanwhile, Teammates are doing their own math. Veterans have mortgages and short windows. They remember every possession that cost them a win. They don't care about a surname. They care whether the ball finds the second side, whether you tag the roller, whether your closeout is under control. Respect arrives in tiny deposits, a clean switch, a timely cut, a box out that buys a rebound for someone else. Stack enough of those and the room changes temperature. Until then, you feel every stare during a dead ball. None of this makes the accusations stop. If you play, it's politics. If you sit, it's confirmation. If you get a call up, the league is rigged. If you get sent down, you're exposed. The double bind becomes the air you breathe. That is the cruelty of nepotism math it pretends to. Be objective while ignoring the statistic every player actually lives inside. Time. Because time is how basketball reality answers. Time to turn habits into instincts. Time to make the defensive slide a reflex instead of a thought. You won't beat the algorithm in a week. You will bore it into moving on. Life under glass doesn't blink. It doesn't pause at the buzzer or soften on an off day. Every hallway walk is filmed. Every practice drill has a phone aimed at it. And every slip, literal or figurative, can end up looped on a stranger's timeline before you ray. Even back in the locker room, privacy isn't a door anymore. It's a rumor. On-court struggles are one thing. Off the court, the surveillance is quieter but sharper. A tunnel clip of you checking your phone becomes an argument about focus. A laugh during warm-ups becomes proof you don't take it seriously, even practice footage your own. Controlled environment can be cut into a narrative you don't recognize. The lesson isn't just about playing the game. It's about performing the version of yourself that can't be weaponized against you, which is to say, an impossible one. Then there's the other kind of invisibility. Not the media glare, real invisibility. The long bus rides to small G League arenas, where the lights are dimmer and the jerseys aren't for sale in the lobby. Nights where the stands are half full, and the players on the floor are all fighting for the same 3 jobs. There's no roar, just squeaks and whistles, and you realize every possession is a resumed bullet. You can decoast because every scout in the building already has a reason not to believe in you. Here, last names matter less, habits matter more. But even these reps come with shadows. A dunk in the G League isn't a dunk. It's he's still not ready for the big stage. A bad night becomes this is why he's down there. You don't get to disappear to work on your game, you just trade one audience for another. And the second audience might be harsher because they know exactly what it means to be overlooked. The mental toll is constant. You live into worlds, one where you have to prove you belong, and another where your belonging is assumed and resented. Sleep becomes irregular, not from late nights out, but from replays in your head. That one blown rotation, the open 3 you didn't take, the conversation you had with the coach that sounded encouraging but felt like a warning. Even rest feels like a luxury you haven't earned yet. Identity drifts in subtle ways. You came in as a player, then you became a storyline. Somewhere in between, you start wondering if URA's still allowed to just be an athlete or if URA a brand. Now, locked into the expectations of a story you didn't write. This is where confidence isn't about swagger, it's about memory. Remembering who you were before the noise and carrying that into a space that demands you forget it. In this kind of life, the game isn't just between the baskets. It's between perception and truth, with every possession a battle to close the gap. Some nights, you win. Other nights, you're just grateful the cameras didn't catch the loss in your eyes. Rewriting the job description starts with humility. The highlight tapes that carried you here don't even matter. When you rate the 11th man in the rotation, in this new reality, the job isn't to light up the scoreboard, it is to make the game easier for someone else. The cameras don't cheer for screens, but your teammates do. The crowd won't notice a well-timed box out, but the guy who grabbed the rebound will. This is the work of disappearing into the fabric of a team. 94 feet of defense, body in the passing lane, sprinting back in transition when no one would blame you for jogging. You learn to chase deflections like they're points, because in this version of the game, they are. Every rotation you complete, every cut that opens a lane for someone else, is a deposit in the trust account. Becoming a specialist is the next step. No rookie survives trying to be everything. You pick a lane, corner threes, point of attack defense, keeping the ball moving without killing the rhythm. You carve out a role that has nothing to do with your name and everything to do with utility. It's not glamorous. It's not even supposed to be. Specialists aren't trending topics, they're insurance policies. And then there's the exam you don't know you're taking. Vets are always watching not to see if you're flashy, but to see if you can be trusted. Do you know the coverage on a side pick hand roll? Do you close out under control? Will you take a hit on a screen without flinching? This is the invisible curriculum of professional basketball, the unwritten rules that separate the guy who gets a second contract from the one who has gone before the season ends. You start realizing the stat sheet can't tell your story. It won't list the possession you saved by sprinting to trap a mismatch. It won't credit you for the cut that dragged a defender to steps out of position. But the coaches saw it, the film saw it, and in a league where jobs vanish in a phone call, the right eyes noticing the right habits is more valuable than any applause. The challenge is that none of this guarantees survival. You can do everything right and still see your minutes shrink. You can pass every unspoken test and still end up on the waiver wire. That's the cruelty of the business role. Players are replaceable until they're not, and the line between the two is thinner than a whistle. So you play anyway. You run the floor. You hit the open man. You fight for the rebound you might not get. Because the alternative waiting for the game to notice you isn't an option. The game notices work. It notices consistency, and eventually, it notices the player who can help a team win without needing their name on the marquee. Pressure alchemy begins with learning the difference between noise and signal. Noise is the heckle from 3 rows back, the hot take dressed as analysis, the scrolling chorus of overrated, under highlight. Signal is what's left when you strip the emotion away. Your footwork was late. Your release dipped. Your stance broke on the drive. One is a storm you can't control. The other is weather you can prepare for. The hardest part is resisting the urge to fight the noise. Responding only feeds it. Silence feels like surrender, but in this game, silence is survival. So you build a routine not because it's glamorous, but because it's armor. Breath work before games, not to calm nerves, but to own the moment before the ball tips. Film sessions with no audience. Rewinding the same play until you know exactly why it worked, or why it didn't. Self-talk that stays neutral. Not I'm terrible, not I'm great. Just next possession. Micro-wins become currency. For a role player under a microscope, a single clean stop could be the whole paycheck for the night. Getting your man to pick up his dribble. Forcing a bad shot with the clock ticking. Making the extra pass that leads to a hockey assist. These don't trend, but they stack. And stack long enough, they turn into trust. Road arenas are where the discipline gets tested. The boos are louder when they rain out personal. They ray just for the jersey you ray wearing. Back-to-backs where the legs are gone by halftime, but the rotation still calls your number. Hotel rooms where the silence feels heavier than the crowd. Here, the routine is more than comfort. It's the thread you hold to keep from unraveling. The work is lonely. There's no highlight montage for doing the small things right, over and over, without recognition. But there's a strange freedom in it too. The freedom of knowing your game isn't built on applause. That your value doesn't spike with a dunk or vanish with a miss. That you can walk into a gym, any gym, and do the job no matter the size of the lights. That's the real alchemy, turning pressure into presence. Using the weight as resistance training. Letting every mistake become a lesson that doesn't have to be taught twice. It's not about making the noise go away. It's about becoming so tuned to the signal that the noise stops mattering. And in a career where you can't control the minutes, the headlines, or the public verdict, controlling that is the closest thing to winning you'll ever get. The cost isn't just physical, it's existential. Every game is a referendum on who you are, not just what you can do. Autonomy gets traded for approval in small, almost invisible ways. You adjust your shot selection because you know a missed 3 will be clipped and posted with your name in all caps. You choose safer passes, not because they're the best option, but because they leave less room for debate. Slowly, the game you love starts to feel like a negotiation. Success in this world isn't always about numbers. For someone in his position, success might be surviving 3 years without being labeled a bust. It might mean carving out a role that's not tied to star power, but to reliability. A career built in inches, taking the toughest defensive assignment for 5 minutes, getting subbed out, and knowing you just shifted the rhythm of the quarter. It's unglamorous, and it's the point. There's a hidden patience to this approach, while the noise demands instant proof. The game's real verdict comes over time. Year 1, you're doubted. Year 2, you're underestimated. Year 3, the scouting report starts giving you credit. Longevity doesn't trend, but it buries the early narratives in the dust of what's actually happened on the court. That's the long game, not proving everyone wrong at once, but making wrong the default setting over seasons. And yet, the fire never goes out. It's not about rage at the critics or even the need to be celebrated. It's about something smaller, more personal, a moment where the game feels like it did before the noise, a clean steal, A defensive read so perfect you're moving before the pass is made. The rare possession where you're not thinking about the audience, the name, or the stakes. You're just inside the play, exactly where you're supposed to be. Walking through the fire without burning isn't about resistance, it's about adaptation. Learning when to absorb the heat, when to let it pass, and when to let it forge something sharper. This isn't the career arc the outside world imagines. It's not linear, and it's not cinematic in the ways that make highlight reels, but it's real, and it's earned. Because at the end of the day, the last name might fill arenas, but it doesn't guard anyone. It doesn't knock down a contested shot, and it doesn't survive a roster cut. Only the work does. And if the work can outlast the noise, then so can the player. That's the quiet victory, one the cameras will never fully capture, but one that matters far more than they ever could.